Ledger is a writing podcast and one more at bat, always. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Austin Wilson, and it is a very special show because it is my very first in-person interview. I've done nothing but remote interviews up until this one. I got the opportunity to chat with Jamarcus JT Turner, and it is a wild set of circumstances that led to this happening. I was chatting with somebody at my day job, and we started talking about comedy. His name's Alexander Eakin. He's a comedian, and he was talking about a friend that he has, and I love comedy, and I've been obsessed with it for a long time. And I was like, well, I interview writers, and he started talking about his buddy who wrote for that Chuck Lorre sitcom, Bob Hart's Abishola. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he lives here in Indiana, in Fort Wayne. I was like, that's crazy. This was just a random conversation, came out of nowhere, something I wasn't expecting to come across at all. And yeah, so I was like, I got hooked up with Jamarcus. We started chatting, and yeah, we sat down to talk about his career as a TV writer. And I promise you, you are not going to find another origin story like Jamarcus's. The way he started writing for TV is seriously so unique. We go into that. We go into how he submitted a comedy packet to Jon Stewart's new show for Apple, which is now no longer airing, but it was called The Problem with Jon Stewart, and he submitted a packet. Didn't make it all the way. He made it to the final round, him and a few other people, but that led to him getting a meeting and then finding out that he was going to get hired on this show, Bob Hart's Abishola, where he became a writer and then eventually a story editor. It is a crazy story. Jamarcus's life is very interesting. He has 12 kids. He's the middle child of, I can't even remember the number of kids he said. It's like 17 or something. Siblings he grew up with. A very, very unique life. We go into how he manages to write amongst having, 12 kids, and what creative energy it takes to make that happen, and what it's like to work in a writer's room, what it's like to actually be in the WGA, what it means when your name appears on screen for a TV show that's produced and co-created by Chuck Lorre, like what that actually means. We go into all that stuff. We go into what kind of confidence you need to have, what taking a general meeting with someone is actually accomplishing, and what you should actually be focusing on as you're taking that meeting as a writer who is potentially getting hired for something. There's a lot of stuff in here for anyone who wants to write in TV. So amazing insights shared by Jamarcus. Thank you so much to him for coming by. As always, go to austinrwilson.com to check out my stuff. You can also find Ledger on Patreon, patreon.com/Ledger Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at MossHartBooks, and on Blue Sky, austinrwilson.bsky.com or whatever it is. And yes, please like, subscribe, comment, share the show. It really, really does help. As for now, here is my chat with Jamarcus Turner. So how long have you been writing?
I have been writing scripts. Okay, so I was one of those people. You ever, like, if you didn't tell a fish that it was a fish,
yeah,
right? It was just swimming because it's a fish.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It doesn't know it's swimming. It doesn't know it's a fish.
Yeah.
Right? So I would write short stories. Not because I'm a writer. I had an idea. I'm just going to write it down. It seems cool. I think it'll go somewhere, and then I'll show it to my family, and that'll be it. And in January 1st of 2020, a comedian and writer and producer named Yasser Lester reached out to me on Twitter and was like, hey, man, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I build plastic tanks in Indiana. What's up? What's it like being famous? I thought he was just like chopping it up with me. And because he had never DM'd me before. We had been following each other for years.
Yeah.
And he had never DM'd me before. He'd say a joke and I'd laugh. I'd say a joke and he'd laugh, and that'd be about it. And he DM'd me. He was like, what do you do? I was like, nothing. He was like, I think you should write. And so he bought me a program for my computer called Fade In. And he bought me a book called The TV Writer's Workbook, right?
Shut up.
Yeah. And I read that. And I got on there and I started writing scripts.
But you've been writing since you were a kid.
I had never wrote a script before that.
But stories,
short stories. Yeah. I was always the kid. Like I was inclined to linguistics and language and just like the like root words. I could always find the Latin root word for a word in class and stuff like that. That's just how my brain works.
Yeah.
Horrible at math. So just to put it in perspective, can find a root word to almost anything in Latin. 9 times 7 can't help you.
Oh, yeah.
Cannot help you at all.
My SAT math score was just a little middle fingers printed on the page.
It was so bad because my English score was a 720 and my math score was like a 500. And it killed
me too.
It killed me.
Me too.
Because if I had like a 600 in there, I would have. It's such a great score. But so he bought me a book. He bought me a book and a program for my computer, and I started writing scripts.
So, man, that is bonkers. And on the one hand, amazing, and then on the other hand, like so out of the ordinary.
Yeah,
that's not how it happens. Like. Actually, you're probably going to give a lot of people weird hope that
I have heard
will just be like,
people hear me tell this story in L.A. and they go like, "You should probably not tell."
Don't say
that
shit out loud
because that's not going to happen again.
Right?
And then somebody somewhere is going to think it's going to happen again.
Right?
Because I was 37. Dang. I was a 37-year-old man. I've been working in factories for 17 years. I found out that I had my first baby on the way when I was 20.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got to get a real people job. I can't work at McDonald's anymore.
Right.
And I started working at factories, all kinds of stuff, building tires.
So who's the person who was the guy who said this to you?
Yasser Lester.
Yasser Lester.
Yeah, he was an actor and a writer and a producer on a show called Black Monday.
Yeah.
He's actually the writer and director of the new Ironheart show.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Really?
So he's great. He does his thing. And he's Palestinian.
That's,
you know what I mean? He's a great guy.
That is like aspirational to be the person who just goes to someone and says that.
Him for, and he's so cool. Like we're not like best friends or buddies or anything
sure.
like that. He just saw something in me and he reached out and he wanted to help any way he could, and then he did, and that was kind of it. But I want to repay him so bad. It's such a Midwest thing that's inside me.
Oh no, but
it's so deep that I really like. It's just like, can I please just like buy you a car?
That's like a Chewbacca life debt.
That's like I have to, and he doesn't get it. It's just like, dog, you don't understand. If I don't pay this back, then I owe you for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like we've got to do something. I got to save one. Like you don't have any kids. I want to like save a dog.
Let me
save your dog from a fire.
That's right.
Let's figure out what I can do. But
well, damn. So that is probably one of the most unique beginnings I've heard. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You started writing scripts, so 2020, and that book. Tell me about the book. You said TV writers.
It's the TV writers workbook, and it's amazing. It gives you all the tips you need about writing, especially sitcom, multicam, single cam. It tells you the difference. It tells you the difference between long form procedurals.
Yeah.
And then or just regular like linear storytelling.
Yeah.
And the difference between telling one story over 10 episodes and telling one story over one episode and then telling it 10 times for 10 episodes.
Right.
And it's just it's everything is in there. And I'm a reader.
Yeah.
I like to read. I'm good at picking up languages and stuff like that. And I watch a lot, I watch an unhealthy amount of television. I'm always watching a very unhealthy. Like I've seen everything that's ever been on TV.
I don't know. I think that definition goes out the window when you're a TV writer. Like the only way it's unhealthy is if like you die.
It's paying. It's only paying off like very recently.
Well,
I'm telling you, watching Nick at Night all night until when I was like 5 years old and being asleep for like kindergarten.
Yeah.
The grades did not reflect.
Well, yeah, but you had to get your 10,000 hours in. You had to get all that experience in watching all that TV.
I did it.
Okay, you start writing scripts in 2020 with the help of that book and that's awesome. So, what's the first thing that you wrote?
The first thing I wrote was called The Next Steps, and it was about my life at the time.
Yeah.
At the time in 2020. Like the very beginning of 2020, me and my wife and I were separated, right? And I was living with my mother and my older sister. My older sister was also living at my mother's house, right?
Yeah.
My mother is bipolar.
Okay.
My older sister is a paranoid schizophrenic.
Oh, my.
Right? And I have 12 children. Me and my wife and I have 12 children.
You have 12 kids?
We have 12 children. We have 7 girls and 5 boys.
How are you sitting here and you're not busy?
I dropped off 4 of them to come do this. That's how you do it. One is going to state and track on Friday.
What?
The other one just won 3 straight state championships down in Tennessee. He got recruited to play football in Tennessee. He just graduated.
Shit.
The other one played football up here. There's a lot of them. They're all over. One is getting his college degree in high school.
What?
So they decide they're going to be competitive in like different ways. So like one dominates academically, the others,
So there's something with your wife and you're back together? Or?
Yeah, we got back together. But when we were separated, it's me living at my mother's house, who is bipolar with my paranoid schizophrenic sister, and having visitation with my 12 children.
12 kids.
And also, or it was 11 at the time, because we had another one since then.
Yeah,
it was 11. So I forgot Duke he didn't exist.
Yeah.
So he's little Jason. So it was 11 kids at the time. And so I wrote about that. That's what I wrote. I wrote that experience. And it was not a great script.
You sure?
It's very hard. I connected with it instantly, but it was my story to connect with.
Right.
I understood I come from a big family. I'm one of 14. I'm the middle child of 14 kids.
Oh, dang.
And so, that's what this tattoo is on my arm. It's all my brothers and sisters.
All your brothers and sisters. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, I understood that. So I wrote it like somebody who understands like big families and stuff. I'm from the Midwest, people have big families. So the kids are more like an entity in a room. The boys are in one room, the girls are in the other room. They've broken up into sections after, they come over for the weekend, and it's almost like shoes in a dryer.
Yeah.
Like you can just hear the noise, and then you would deal with just one kid individually. Yeah. That was my idea, is like I'll have one kid that will have a problem every episode, and I'll try to help, with my life problems that I'm going through, trying to date, trying to get my wife back, trying to, a lot of stuff going on at once.
So what? Gosh, I have so many
was bad
structurally.
With scripts. Yeah, that's all. It was the story itself. I'm relatively good with dialogue. I'm a talker.
So were you writing it as a single cam or as multicam?
Single cam.
Single cam?
Yep. Single cam. All of the scripts that I wrote up until I started working at CBS were single cam.
So was it, 45 pages?
30.
32.
Yeah, I try to do a page per minute.
Yep.
So it's about 32, 33 pages. They're not going to let you go too much further if you're doing a half hour.
So what about multicam?
Multicam is like 38, 42. It depends on the number of scenes you have.
Yeah. And
they can shoot it fast, they can shoot it slow. Like there have been times where I've counted the scenes in our writer's room and go, okay, well, we've got 11 scenes. The last time we had 9 scenes and we were 2 minutes under. We had to extend the, opening credit scene, or we had to do it previously on or something like that to fill it. And with these 11, it should be fine.
Yeah.
We should be able, like you start being able to see it like it's,
So, oh my gosh. Okay. So 12 kids. Ordinarily, this question is so different because I'm asking just about the energy of writing. Because I know my experience when I sit down to write and the energy that it takes me. Like I have anxiety and depression that I deal with.
Same.
And so I'm even more curious how you manage the energy of creativity amongst all of that.
I was born and raised in chaos.
Yeah.
It's just
So does it even register for you?
It really not the way it should.
Yeah.
I perform better in a chaotic situation than I do in dead silence.
Yeah.
Like if I had the house, if it was quiet like it is in this room right now when I was trying to write, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Even start?
No, the TV has to be on. The kids, if they're not kids running around upstairs or something like that, if there's not things to distract me while I'm focusing, then I will not be able to focus.
Dang, so let's think about that. You have to be distracted to focus.
For writing.
Only for writing?
Only for writing.
So if you're reading, silence?
Reading, I can have silence. I don't have to have silence, but I can. You read it, you'd learn how to do stuff in a house full of people pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So after you wrote, was it called Next Steps?
Yep, The Next Steps. I wrote The Next Steps.
So did that get traction, or was there something after that?
The Next Steps did not get traction. It was just something where he was like, okay, you know how to write a script now. So he was like, write your next thing. And so flash forward like 6 months, my twin brother, I have a twin brother, and he got married. And I was the best man, so I was overserved at the wedding, of course. Just everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm laying back, looking up at the sky, and it's at night. We're coming back from my brother's wedding. My wife is driving because I can't.
Yeah.
I'm overserved. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I wonder what happens when you die. Like, what would happen? And I'm talking about what I think happens when you die, not what somebody told me. What would I make up?
Yeah.
And so I wrote this script called Watcher.
Okay.
And it's about just this guy in a room watching people. He gets to watch the last day of someone's life, right?
That's a cool idea.
Every day he watches the last day of someone's life. And up until then, every day he just watches, right? That's all he does until someone comes there. And he's very matter-of-factly. He talks the way I do because that's how I write my characters.
Sure.
So he's very matter-of-factly like, oh, no, you're never leaving here. Nobody ever leaves here. And he told the last people that, but he's telling this new person that too. Nobody ever leaves here. There's only one way. You're going to go out that way. That's it. Well, what's after that? I have no idea. I just watch you all day.
Yeah.
And that person goes back to Earth instead. And he goes back, she goes back. That was the first time it ever happened.
Yeah.
And So it's like, well, what does this mean? And so she figures out a way to be able to go back and forth between no one, that's his name, no one's void, the watcher's void, and the waking world. While she sleep, when she goes to sleep, she's in no one's world. When she's awake, she's in the. But he has a working database basically of 80,000 ways people have died.
Yeah,
all kind of ways people have died, in every kind of way. He almost helps her save somebody's life that she wants to save.
Yeah.
At the very end, she decides like they could do a lot of good together, working together, because he knows, every way somebody can die, and she's a nurse and she wants to help. My wife is a nurse, and so I really just wrote how we interact with each other. Yeah, because her level of love and care and empathy that she shows to people is just amazing. Yeah, and I connect to humanity through that.
Through her, how she does.
Yeah, so that got traction.
So that got traction. Was that a single cam or?
That was a single cam.
Single cam.
So that was a single cam, and I wrote that and I sent that to Yasser. Right.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Do you have time to talk?" And so we got on the phone. He was like, and we got on Zoom, and we had never met, we had never done anything. And he was like, "This is really good. You should just keep this. Yeah. And when you have, in case someone asks, you have a writing sample." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know who would ask me, but okay,
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah. He was like, "Just keep this. You have it, and just keep writing." I'm like, "Okay." And then you flash forward. I had finished that maybe a week or two before, and they were doing packets for Jon Stewart, The Problem. Okay. It was going to be an Apple TV show, and they had an open call for, anybody could submit a packet. And I'm on Twitter all day, Mr. Marcus 260, in case you guys want to look me up. I go viral all the time. And so I'm on Twitter all day, and I hear about the packets, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, do a packet. I'm going to send one in. It was a bunch of people who were calling themselves writers that I was connecting with who were like, "I'm not doing that." Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I am. I don't have anything else to do. I work 60 hours a week building plastic tanks in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And open call. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I take opportunities where I find them. I have no idea why other people don't.
See, there's a part of, I guess, so there's a part of my head that is like the chances of them choosing me. That is a thing I battle with, where it's like, okay, what's the chances? But I've also encountered so many situations where crazy shit happened for me just because I asked. And I mean, from my perspective, in your shoes, a dude shows up and is just like, "You should be a writer. I'm going to buy you this shit."
But see, my problem is I have a massive ego and an over-exaggerated sense of self-importance. Okay. So I just think I'm going to win every time. Yeah. Yeah, every single time, every single thing. I'm just like, why wouldn't they choose me? I'm the best person for this. I'm the dopest. Oh, you've been doing this 10 years longer. So what?
But does that ever, like...
hurt me?
Well, so I'm
constantly.
Sure.
It constantly hurts me. Yes, so yes.
Hurting you, but also, like, I'm trying to think about the balance, like the swing. So when you... submit something, or you are talking to, like, let's say you take a general. Yeah. You're talking to somebody and you like come in, you're
doing my thing. Yeah.
And they're like,
no.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you ever have a moment then where you're like, I fucked up?
No, I go, they were wrong. They were obviously wrong. I'm so dope. Why would they? What are you talking? Of course they were wrong. Damn, it's too bad they couldn't see it.
So I don't know that maybe that's the right way to. I don't know.
I will take criticism. And this is why I was kind of welcome in the writer's room, because I welcome criticism. Yeah. I played football and basketball and track and wrestling and boxing. Yeah. And every single kind of sport I could have played. My dad loved sports. He loved putting us into sports. So every single kind of sport I could have played, I played. I've had coaches call me everything but a child of God. Yeah. So you telling me you don't like my joke, it's not going to hurt my feelings as much as you think it would hurt my feelings. I had a coach standing on my stomach one time talking about my mama while I was crying. I was 11 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to do that, you being like, I don't like this joke is not going to hurt my feelings. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I just talked to Brent Forrester, and he was talking about that specifically, like dropping a joke in front of Steve Carell and them not laughing, and then him being like, I don't need you guys. I know that's funny. Yeah. And that got the laugh. Him being like, I don't need you telling me that I'm funny. I know this. Yeah.
It goes dead silent in the writer's room when they don't like the joke. It's like the quietest it's ever been. When you're texting jokes, when you're texting alts into the studio, like you're watching on your your TV, and you're texting alts in, and there's no reaction and nobody says anything when you text your alt in. It's just like, wow. All right, well, they didn't like that one.
But you don't feel anything. Like,
no, I just send 10 more. Damn. I go, okay, well, I'll send 9 more of these. One of these will work. You're like one of these. Am I getting closer to what you like? Okay, here it goes. How about this one? I'll send 20. Somebody will send 2. and maybe one gets picked or one doesn't, I will send 15.
Yeah.
And then one of those is getting picked up.
So that, to me, okay, so we talked about that on the last episode too, where that, and sports is where the phrase comes from. You either win or learn.
Mm-hmm.
And having that ability to be like, this failure is not stronger than my will to succeed.
Not even close.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And it's a thing that I'm like constantly striving to get because I struggle with it. And having, like, I know you need notes, and I love giving notes and getting notes, and you can't get better unless somebody points out, like, this thing's not working, that thing's not working. I wonder if I didn't play a lot of organized sports. I played I played a ton of sports, but not on actual teams. So I didn't have a ton of coaches.
Yeah, you gotta have like a semi-alcoholic man that isn't related to you yelling right in your face about something that doesn't matter at all.
And I had opportunities. Yeah. I could have had that.
Yeah, that's how you get that skin real thick. Because I take notes. I love notes.
Yeah,
I love finding out, like figuring out, because I can take what you said. I don't have to take. I also here comes the ego.
Sure.
No matter what someone says to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to sift through it to find something that I deem is usable. To change the script. But I'm not going to change my entire script.
Right.
Because you said all of these things. You might not get it.
Right.
So what I need to do is translate it better so that you can get it. And if I look at your notes and I go, okay, this is what they didn't understand about what I was trying to say. This is what I can change so that they will understand it the next time. Yeah. But as far as like change, like, I think it should be in space. Oh, word? Oh, well, thanks for that note. And then I ignore that person and I just keep on going. Yeah.
Right. So that's one of the things that you hear is sometimes the note is there's a kernel inside of it, and you have to ignore the person being like, if you do this, you can fix it. But really, the note is saying something in this part
isn't working,
is off kilter. There's something that isn't flowing, and if you can focus on that rather than the solution. I heard Bill Hader talking about it one time on like a podcast or something, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's the way to take a note where it's like, okay, yeah, I've got a plot problem. Yeah. But I don't know.
But it's not your solution to the problem. Right. It's that I have a problem and I need to find a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. So you wrote, okay, you got traction. Yasser said, call me. You guys chatted about that. Yep. So then what happens?
So I submit a packet.
Submit the packet.
I submit the packet for the Jon Stewart, the problem, and I make it to the next round.
Yep.
And then I make it to the next round, and I make it to the finals. And it's down between, I think, me and like 3 other people. Yeah. And I'm still working 60 hours a week building plastic tanks at a factory. They hit me up. The head writer writes me. It sends me an email. And her name is Chelsea Devantes. Yeah. And she sends me an email, and she goes, hey, we're not going to hire you. Yeah. And I go, oh, okay, cool. Well, I appreciate it. Did not think they were going to hire me. Like, it would have been ridiculous. Sure. I have a massive ego, but I'm also realistic in my goals.
See, that's crazy, though. Yeah. Those two things don't make sense to me together.
They clash all day.
Because to me, saying, I'm going to submit this packet because I'm awesome, but then also being able to be like, but there's no way they're going to hire me, and then making it to the final 3, that's when I would have been like, well, shit, they're going to rename the network after me, probably.
I have been right and not gotten it. Yeah. And been okay with that. When you're the middle child of 14 kids, you have to really learn to like accept that just because you're right doesn't mean you're going to get your way. Yeah. Very early in life. Okay. So I can not doubt for a second that I'm right and I'm the person that they should hire. Right. And also accept the fact that they probably don't understand that I'm the person that they should hire.
That's probably just the healthiest way to think about it.
Oh, I'm insane.
Right?
I wouldn't take all of my advice. I'm pretty insane, but I'm saying that is how I process things in my brain.
But when it comes to writing, though, I think that it's like growing up as a kid who knows that you might get made fun of for something. Because the way my brain works is like, I guarantee you're not going to be able to say a thing mean enough to me that I haven't thought of already to get me. Yeah. I guarantee it.
Cannot hurt my feelings.
Because I will be there before you will. I guarantee it. And it's weird because I can't carry that energy with me always. Like, there's some things where it's like, yeah, but maybe I'm not good. And I'm
only bad at making French toast.
Really?
Yeah, I have a whole bit about it. There's always too much egg or something. I don't know. But that's the only thing. Yeah. I tell people that so that they feel better about me being good at everything else.
Well, it's so okay. So you make it to the final 3. They say
Yeah.
we're not hiring you. I read a little bit of this on the Final Draft website because they did an interview with you at some point.
So I make it to the final 3.
Yeah.
And they tell me that they're not going to hire me. And she's like, and I go, okay, well, I really appreciate you guys reaching out. Thank you. So, the Midwest thing. I go, I really appreciate you guys reaching out. Thank you so much. And if you, in the future, just keep me in mind. Like 3 hours later, she emails me back and she goes, we really love your writing. Is there something we could send to an executive that we know? I go, yeah, there is. I have this script called Watcher.
Yeah.
So I send her Watcher on a Sunday evening. I was like, can I please make these changes I need to make to this script?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah. I was like, cool. So I made some adjustments that I knew I needed to make. I sent in a script on a Sunday, late on a Sunday evening. So like 11 p.m. on a Sunday evening. By Wednesday morning at 9:30, I had a meeting scheduled with Disney.
Damn.
So they had gotten a hold of the script somehow, and they had passed it around, and they had been reading, and they really enjoyed it. And then I got an email from Disney, and I got the email from Disney that was just like, "We really like your writing. We would really like to meet you." Now you got to understand this is where the insanity comes in.
Sure.
Okay? Because I want to make it clear to people, you should not do this. Don't do this. But I got the first email from Disney saying, I just would like to meet you.
Yeah.
And I went up to the owner's office of the factory that I work at.
Yeah.
And said, hey, I'm putting in my 8-week notice. They're just like, why? Well, I'm going to be focusing on this writing thing.
Yeah.
I just, I didn't tell him I got an email from Disney. I was just like, I'm doing this writing thing and I really want to focus on that. I've been working at this place for 4 years. I have a family to support. I have children. My wife was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
When I told these people in 8 weeks, I won't be here anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And so things escalate, and I have the meeting with Disney, and they really like me, and they start telling people that they like me. So producers start reaching out to talk to me, and they think they like me because we're having a talk.
Do you have a manager at this point?
No, I don't.
No manager?
And then managers and agents start reaching out to me, and they're like, hey, somebody's probably going to start paying you to be a writer soon. You should pick somebody. And I picked the greatest managers and agents that I could. Shout out to Anthony Lapito over at Heroes and Villains. Shout out to Maud.
Shit, I follow them. I follow Heroes and Villains.
Oh, yeah. Anthony's over there, and Maud over there. They used to be APA. Yeah. I don't know what they call it now, but it was APA. I got to pay closer attention to stuff like that. But Maud over there at APA is great. They're my favorite people, and I picked them, right? And then it's like a week after I picked them, they're like, okay, cool. We got some interviews set up. Now look, you're not going to get this job. Okay, it's a Chuck Lorre show. They only hire 60-year-old white dudes. Like, you're not going to get this job, but it's going to be very good practice when we send you out on a real job interview.
Right.
So just do your research on this stuff. Look at it. And I love doing my research. So Gina Yashere was one of the people who were going to be interviewing me, and I'm a comedian. Yeah. And she's an international superstar of a comedian. And I had just watched her comedy special just because her jokes are so perfect, like structurally. Yeah. If you want to study, if you're going to be telling jokes on stage especially, and you want to study just joke structure, I highly recommend checking out Gina Yashere's stand-up specials. They're on Netflix. They're everywhere. And the joke structure is perfect. Yeah. It's beautiful. But anyway, so I connected with that. And then I knew I was going to be interviewing with the showrunner, Al Higgins. And I didn't know anything about Al Higgins, so I looked him up. And he is Steve Higgins from The Tonight Show's brother, and also another Higgins that was Craig Feldspar on Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He was the head writer on Malcolm in the Middle for a while, too. Oh. Okay. I got to meet with them, and I know I'm not going to get this job. They already told me I'm not going to get this job. That doesn't mean I don't have to be awesome at this. So I do my research, and I'm ready to – I'm going to take this opportunity to talk to an international superstar who I never would have been able to talk to about comedy. Yeah. And somebody who has been in the business for like 30 years. He worked on news radio. He wrote on Doug. He wrote on like all of these things that are foundational pieces to me. Like, I was the weird kid up watching news radio and was like heartbroken when Phil Hartman got killed. Right. I was, and then getting up on Saturday and watching Doug. Right. So all of these things they really connected. So I just talked to him about that and talked to him. I was like, hey man, because I know I'm never going to talk to this guy again. It's like, tell your brother, like Craig Feldspar was like one of the greatest, because he was. The best part about the character is that he is annoying, but you also feel bad for him. Yep. And that is a very fine line to walk, and he walked it. And that's the sign of a brilliant actor. Yeah. So I was like, tell your brother that. And I'll never see these people again. And so I got off of the Zoom with them. And then 2 hours later, my agents and managers called me and told me I got the job.
So did you talk about writing it, like your stuff at all?
They asked me about my script. Yeah. And they asked me about the journey that I had been on to get there. But they really liked the script that I wrote.
So that helped. That matches up, I think, with some stuff that I've heard from other writers, specifically in Hollywood, where it's like sometimes that general meeting is not about learning more about the writing. It's about, can I work with this person, and are they insufferable?
What I have heard over and over and over again, and this is something important people should listen to and definitely take from this.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people have said it, but it is important, okay? You can be an asshole on a movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You can be a jerk on a movie.
Yeah.
You can. It's a very short amount of time. It is 2 months.
Yep.
Oh, man, it sucked working with that guy. Well, and they keep it moving. And they might call you back.
Yeah.
Because even though you were a jerk, it's only 2 months, whatever.
Yeah.
You cannot be a jerk on a TV show. You cannot be a joke on a 22-episode-a-year sitcom where you spend 52 weeks a year together.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hang out with somebody. It doesn't matter if you're an amazing writer. If you're a bummer to hang out with, if you're horrible to be around, nobody's going to hire you.
Right.
Because then they have to spend all this time with you, and you're horrible.
Yeah.
Don't be horrible. You really want to be a good hang.
Yeah.
You want to be kind of a fun hang.
Yep.
Somebody that people want to be around, and then they will. That is exactly what they're looking to see if you're a jerk.
Yep.
They don't need the writing. Everybody can write. Once you reach that point where you can get that meeting, that means every single person can do what we're going to do here generally.
Yes.
Like in a general way.
Yep.
You know? So really it's about, do I want to hang out with this guy for 2 years?
So that, to me, when you get to the level where it's like what you just said, everyone can write, and a thing that I think I've talked to with other people, but also just a thing that you find out the more you write, is that stories are not hard. It's not the stories themselves and the ideas. Like, ideas are not the hard thing. Mm-hmm. It's like finishing a thing and making it into something that makes sense to other people. And so I'm curious about how the show you wrote for and you did story editing and stuff is Bob Hart's Abishola. Yep. And I'm curious, really the big thing I wanted to talk about is the writer's room, because I haven't gotten to talk to someone yet super in-depth about the writer's room. So especially for someone where you started writing scripts in 2020, what year was it when you...
2021.
2020.
So it was, I wrote Watcher.
Man, right. There are people out there who are gonna hate you.
I know. And look, here's the thing. I watched Glenn Ross for the first time a year ago.
Yeah.
And there was like one person in the writer's room was just like, this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I listen, after watching Alec Baldwin's character in Glenn Ross, I was like, oh, it should be like everyone in that writer's room should have hated me. How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? Yeah.
But to me, I mean, a history of writing. You're writing stories as a kid. Mm-hmm. You like reading, you like watching stories. Mm-hmm. All of that shit. And even like before I was like actively putting words on a page, when I look back at a lot of the stuff that I was doing, telling stories with my brother with like action figures, or we're writing in a way where we're constructing narrative. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily know that we're doing it.
Fish swimming. You just didn't know that you were swimming.
That is a great way to think about it. You don't even know that you're doing the thing.
You just know it's a thing you're supposed to be doing. Like,
right.
You have to do it. It's not even what you're supposed to be doing. You have to do it.
You have to. 2021, get hired onto a Chuck Lorre sitcom. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about first day. First day, what's it like?
First day, it's so great. We're doing episode. They brought me in, I think they were already working on some of the scripts and stuff. So this is like episode 3. Mm-hmm. They brought me in episode 2 or episode 3 of season 3.
Okay.
And so they had the 2 characters that are getting married.
Okay.
So it's a surprise wedding. Nobody, the previous season, they don't really indicate that they're going to do it, but they're ready to make that jump so that they can finally just be married. We can get past that part and go to like the good stuff, the married stuff, right? And so I am just making suggestions. I get a joke in. It's about putting marshmallows on, because they eat a lot of yams in the Nigerian community.
Yeah.
Yams are a big part of the diet. And so I'm a Midwesterner, so I joke about, marshmallows, melting marshmallows on top of them. That's some Bob stuff you would say, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it in, and I'm so excited, and everybody claps and stuff like that. And then, like, 3 hours later, they cut the joke.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, and they told me, they were like the other writers who I got closer with, Nate Chetty, who's one of my favorite people I met in that writer's room. He made sure to let me know, like, yeah, hey, they're going to cut that joke. Like, it's not going to be right now, but... That joke's getting cut. That first joke never makes it in.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a psycho. Like, I'm a real nut. So the only advice that I got, I reached out to everybody I could reach out to, and I heard back from Yasser.
Yeah.
And one of the things he told me was just like, all right, look, the first week You just want to sit back in the cut, man. You just want to chill and observe your writer's room and like see, you know, how it works and how it functions and how it moves. And then you kind of want to jump in there. You want to get your, you know, you want to wait to see how deep the pool is. And then you want to kind of ease your way into the pool.
Yeah.
As soon as the mic started rolling, I started talking. So, they were like, he said he needed a joke. What are we?
Why are we waiting?
What are we doing? Am I not supposed to say something to this joke? 10 jokes. I got 10 jokes for this. 20. I got 20 jokes for this. Can I do a joke? Yeah.
So then, does it feel competitive? Like, does that room feel competitive?
Our room was extremely supportive.
Yeah.
I have heard of competitive rooms.
Yeah.
Now, Gina cultivated our room. Between Gina and Al, they really cultivated our room.
Was she the head writer?
She was co-creator of the show.
Okay.
She was head writer, and she wasn't showrunner until season 4 and 5.
Okay.
But yeah, she was head writer of
Yeah.
the show, and also co-creator with Chuck and
Yeah.
you know, Eddie and Al.
Yeah.
You know, she really cultivated our writer's room. So, and she's a Nigerian woman. She's a British Nigerian woman, right?
Yeah.
But she's also queer.
Okay.
You know, and so it was queer representation in the room. The room was almost half black.
Yeah.
Which is extremely rare
I was
in
gonna say,
Hollywood.
that
Yeah,
is
that does not,
an achievement.
Right. So I don't even know what it's like to not be in that kind of room.
Yeah.
Right. But it, you know, so it was half of the room was black, half the room was women, half the room there was queer representation in there, not just Gina. You know, there was Nigerian representation in there. It was a black male perspective. That's why they hired me. They wanted a black man's perspective.
Yeah.
On there was a younger child character named Dele.
Yeah.
And he was her son. And he is a black American man, even though a young black American man, even though she is a Nigerian woman, he is experiencing the world through the prism of a young black American man.
Different perspective.
Right? Completely different perspective. They needed a guy to come in and have that perspective.
Right.
So I was so glad. And my wife was a nurse.
Yeah.
Is a nurse. So that helps.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I know the nurse stuff.
Yeah.
I know about code browns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Abishola in the show is a nurse. Yeah.
Right. And I worked in factories forever, and Bob owns a factory. It was just really lined up that I was the perfect person, I guess, to write on this show. So
do you remember how many people were in the writer's room?
there were 10.
Yeah.
There were 10 and 2 writer's assistants.
And so everybody on site, anyone zooming in or?
Everybody would come on site.
Yeah.
For some stuff.
Yeah.
But really, we had a working rotation. Now, the first season that I was writing on the show, it was straight up all Zoom.
Yeah.
There was no in-person meetings or anything like that. The only in-person thing we did was the rap party.
Oh, the rap.
That's the only thing we did in person was the rap party.
Yeah.
Everything else was over Zoom, right? So, but the second year, I had my own office at Warner Brothers. You know, we're going up to the writers' rooms together. We're making sure we wear our masks and stuff like that. They really wanted us back there in person. And so I'm back there and I'm doing my, just having the time of my life.
Sure.
Then somebody got COVID, and so we started splitting it up again.
Yeah.
I loved being there. So if they would call us, like we'd be on Zoom a lot, but it would be 3 of us in one room working together.
Yeah.
4 of us in one room working together, breaking it up into groups and working together. We'd all come together when Chuck came.
Yeah.
Everybody who was in that building, who was in LA, would be there upstairs for Chuck Lorre to be in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he shows up. This is the thing people don't know. Chuck is there all the time.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
he has like 20 shows.
I was going to say,
he's at all of them.
That's bonkers.
And he's wearing some Travis Scott's. Nasty. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, Chuck Lorre's shoe game is nasty. Okay? Nasty.
Not what you would expect.
You imagine I'm a new Hollywood person.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm making more money. I made $42,000 building plastic tanks working overtime the year before.
Right.
I made substantially more than that.
A bump up,
just
I would say.
as a staff writer, not including a story editor. Way different.
Right.
And I'm like, me and Gina are going back and forth. I'm like, yeah, these are the good shoes, right here. I got these, that,
Sure.
And Chuck just casually walks in with just reverse Nike check, Travis Scott's on and a sweater.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, yeah. So.
Well, yeah, Chuck Lorre's in a
crazy shoe game.
A different level.
Yeah.
Like a real bonkers level. Yeah.
You got the bread.
So going from starting as a staff writer, because you, like you said, you were a story editor. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that transition and the differences in what that meant for someone that's writing for the show.
Well, at the time, as a staff writer, when you started working on a sitcom,
yeah,
you do not get any of the script bonuses. Okay? So what a script bonus is that every single time you see that person's name on television says written by, they get a nice bonus. The Lorre universe is $10,000, right?
Every time your name's on screen.
Your name's on screen for writing. It's $10,000.
And that's
right?
WGA contractual.
That's straight across the board.
For everyone.
Right. But when you're a staff writer, you do not get that bonus.
Okay.
So imagine I'm making more money than I've ever made in my whole 5 times as much money
Sure.
I've ever made in my whole life. But also they tell me, there was $110,000 you could have got. You're not going to get it.
It's off the table.
I had 11 writing credits that season.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. So the transition is, first of all, I thought I was going to get a phone call saying that I was getting fired because I have no experience at this, and I've been doing it for a year, and I've been throwing out jokes, and they use some of them, but,
So, okay, before we move on, let's talk about that. Like, where's that come from? Like, were you worried, or were you just like, this has to end sometime?
No, it was just more like, are they really going to let me keep doing this?
Yeah.
Like, they're not that crazy, right? Like maybe they'll keep me as a staff writer. I understand. Maybe they want to fill me out. I've been doing okay.
Yeah.
No, they promoted me. My agent's like, well, you probably already heard. You've been doing great over there. I'm like, why would I have heard that?
Why? Yeah. How would I have heard
There's
that?
no one telling you you're doing good. In LA, in Hollywood, in the writer's room,
Yeah.
there's no one telling you you're doing good. Okay? There's nobody that's going to pull you aside and be like, hey, man, you're killing it. They're worried about them killing it. They do not have time to reinforce, to make sure you feel good about what you've been doing.
So you're in the dark. You're just like,
have no idea what's going on. I think I'm doing okay. I made a couple people laugh.
Yeah.
I got to meet Chuck Lorre. I'm throwing suggestions out, into the room and stuff like that. But hey, it was fun. But I'm a factory worker.
Sure.
They're going to send me back to the factory, I'm sure.
yeah.
And they were like, no, man, you're promoted. And so I got all of my bonus checks and a massive raise. And it was the best year of my entire life.
Yeah.
Was being a story editor for Bob Hart's Abishola, for sure.
Yeah.
And, it was the best time of my life, being the story editor for Bob Hart's Abishola.
Talk to me about, it's a weird question, but like, what was the end like?
It was all the ideas that everybody hadn't used.
Yeah.
It's just, that's really what it was. Not in a bad way. And I always thought of well, this is what these characters would be doing. Like you talk about it in the writer's room. It comes up well, obviously this is how they were going to ride off into the sunset. It's this way. This is how Bob would do this.
Bob does this.
And
yeah.
even though some things change, there are those there are those moments that you're like, these are things that are definitely going to be included.
Yeah.
It's good to do that when it's not something that you predetermined during the first episode. Not to critique anyone.
Sure.
But How I Met Your Mother,
Yeah.
they decided at the very first episode how the show was going to end. That was not a good idea.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Well, yeah.
That's the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Everything's going to change.
Yeah. It's so bad I brought it up on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Right. Because over 9 years, the characters grow and develop and go in different directions than you never thought they would. We've already run all the tread off of the Robin Ted thing.
Yep.
We know it's not going to work. We don't want it to work.
Right.
We don't want to see them together. We want to see Ted happy with someone who actually wants him. And you could have given it to us, and it was right there.
Yep.
All you had to do was hang on for 2 more minutes.
Yep.
And you just couldn't. You shot the one that we wanted.
Right.
And then didn't give it to us.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, we decided 9 years ago how this was going to end. We can't give you that ending.
I think it's a great lesson. Weirdly, and I think Lost did it in a different way. That decision, and it makes me maybe even those 2 decisions are related and were studio mandated, because Lost was like, we're going to end in 3 seasons, and they're like, no, you are not.
Lost would have really benefited from being 10-episode seasons every year on HBO Max or not Netflix. It would have taken 4 years. Between seasons.
Who knows?
But HBO Max making Lost like they're making the White Lotus.
White Lotus, yeah. So yes, staunchly sticking to an ending when you
do not do that.
Don't take into account all of the change, and the actors too. Like, everyone's gonna bring the stuff you write's gonna get elevated, or it's gonna change based on tone and delivery and all kinds of stuff.
I have found that a lot of writers' rooms seem to cave to the pressures of the fans at the very, very end.
Really?
So at the very, very end, it's like, this is a character who never got pregnant. There was no scenario where this person's going to have a baby or anything like that. The last scene is them being like, and I'm pregnant. And it's just like, because 10,000 fans were like, we wanted to see her pregnant.
We got to give
like
it
Penny
to
on Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang.
Like they were going to make that character. They were never going to have those characters have kids. And then, people were like, we want to know that they had kids. It was like, okay, well.
So, I mean, that's also another reason why the end of Seinfeld is kind of bonkers, because they're just like.
They steered directly outside of the skid.
We'll do whatever we want.
What's it? You want us to, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you want it to be about something? Okay, well, it'll be about a trial of them being bad citizens now. Did you like that it was about something?
Are you happy?
Are you happy that we made it about something now?
That's
you're complaining? Oh, I don't know why.
That is.
You got what you asked for.
One of my favorite endings from a couple of standpoints, but one of them is just like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, we do.
Yeah.
What? We do the story.
Yeah.
Like,
we'll
we don't
do what
give
we
a
want
shit.
to. You do not tell us what to do.
Right.
You do not dictate the pace here.
Yeah.
We dictate the pace here.
Oh, yeah, it's us. So, okay. Big journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show ends, for anyone listening, but there's only 5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The show ends. So then what? Where's your mindset? How do you feel, both as a writer, as just a person? Like, where are you at after that?
It is, you have a period of like extreme hopefulness.
Sure.
Where you're just like, oh man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna find another job next week.
Yeah.
And then the months start to roll by.
Yeah.
And you go, wait a minute. Now this is a little tight. And then your residual checks, they start to get a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
You start, you're making thousands of dollars a month because it's on network TV and they're just airing the new episodes and
Right.
it's perfect. And you're like, and you didn't even need those $1,000 a month 6 months ago. Now you actually really need them.
Yep.
You're really looking at the mailbox, hoping that green envelope is there.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of progresses from there, man. And it's tough. It's a hard transition, but it's giving me motivation.
Yeah.
At least it's pushing me forward to make me want to work even harder to write the next thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm really excited and happy that I get to write this next thing.
Yeah.
So that I can get, I can just send that to somebody and go, oh, we got to get this guy back. We got to get this guy on something.
Hire him.
Yeah.
So is it definitely, like, are you like, okay, I'm writing another TV show, I'm going to write a feature, like where'd your head go after that?
There's a certain couple of things that I wanted to do, but I'm a TV writer. I love TV.
Yeah.
So I was writing I wrote another TV show, and I wrote another TV show, and it was called The Site.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this guy. Basically, it's like Watcher was basically ER mixed with House.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just like, or like House mixed with like something magical.
Yeah.
Right. But he's basically House, but he's in a white boy. You know that.
Yeah.
So like The Site is like Psych if he really did have the powers.
Right.
Basically, he's like the most loser guy you could possibly find. And the only thing that really, he can barely function in society because when he touches things or people or anything like that, he gets these flashes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that, and that got some attention too. And then I was like, you know what though? I have daughters, and I play basketball. And she's 14 now. She was 13 when I really started thinking about writing this. And I'm like, what if she was really great at basketball? What would that be like?
Yeah.
If she was like just like in like a Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese level of basketball player, what would that be like? She's 14, and every other word that she says is girl.
Yeah.
And lit and she and not was it not eat?
Not eat.
Everything is eat.
Oh, he's eating.
No, yeah, it's like everything. It's like that is, and not it eats. I was still hip.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm 41, but I was still hip to the lingo up until I know I get it. It eats. It's like that's great. It's like she cut the S.
Eat.
And there's no it. It's just that's not eat. And it's just like what I don't know. They just got it. They're streamlined and stuff.
Yeah, that's a part. That's a step far where I'm just like, what are we talking about, kids?
So I'm like currently writing this multicam about a basketball family in Indiana with twins who are these two twins who are phenoms. One's a girl, one's a boy. Courtney is the girl.
Yeah, and
she's better than her brother. His name is Christopher. You know what I'm saying? They call him Chris. Their last name Wallace is an old family name of ours, so we're using that. So it's Chris Wallace, so they call him Big Papa.
Big Papa.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's Courtney. All the other kids have like basketball affiliated names.
Yeah.
Because their mom is a psycho coach. She was like a WNBA superstar. The dad is just a guy.
Yeah.
He's the factory worker guy.
I like that.
He was just tall enough to have kids with, and she started having babies with him.
Tall enough.
Oh, you know how it goes in the Midwest.
Yeah.
They go. You meet a former lady basketball player, and she's like, yeah, you'll make some big ones.
6'5".
Yeah, let's go.
You're the guy.
Yeah, you're the one. Like, what about my personality? Yeah,
you're tall.
All of this talking. Trying to start a family here, bud.
So did that get traction, or?
I'm working on it right now, and it is getting attention. I mean, my my manager, and I sent a couple of excerpts off to an executive that I know I'm really cool with.
Yeah.
A couple of the couple of scenes.
Yeah.
And he really dug them.
That's nice.
And I'm pretty good with dialogue. I'm a talker.
Yeah.
And so the dialogue is always solid. What is the hardest part for me is script structure.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing in the whole. I can write any amount of scenes, but I got to know where it's going, or it'll just meander.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so
that stuff spins out of control fast for me too. If I don't have a lot of planning, I hate like strict outlines, but like beat sheets. Or structuring stuff through beat sheets is usually one of the things that I do.
I just needed the general vibes of this scene. Give me the vibe. Give me the start of it. What am I trying to accomplish in this scene?
Yeah.
I'll decide how we get there.
Yeah.
Through dialogue. But these are the things I need to accomplish in this scene to move on to the next scene.
Hell yeah. That's a good way to do it. Gosh, I have so many questions and we're almost done. So you're a comedian also. How long have you been doing stand-up?
I started doing stand-up in October of 2020.
Okay.
My little brother died October 4th, 2020. He was 30 years old. He died in his sleep apnea. He had just had heart surgery. It's terrible, devastating. That's
awful.
what this huge tattoo is on my leg. Is
for him.
Is for him.
Yeah.
And so we had like written jokes together and like told jokes together and stuff like that. I'd never done comedy though.
Yeah.
And about 2 weeks after he died, I saw a flyer for an open mic and I started going. And I never stopped. Now I do shows everywhere.
Talk to me about the difference between writing TV and writing for stand-up.
It is, you're still telling a story.
Yeah.
You're still telling a joke.
Yeah.
But it's just a much shorter joke. It's a much shorter story. Like, there's my favorite new joke that is not, I'll tell one of my old jokes.
Okay.
One of my favorite old jokes, right, that I like to tell, that you meet more interesting people in Indiana than you do in LA, right?
Yeah.
In LA, you're going to meet a guy and he's going to have on like khaki shorts and some kind of button-up shirt, and he's going to have a sweater tied around his waist, and he's going to be wearing a hat of some sort.
Yeah.
He's going to have some very firm opinions on some stuff. You know what I mean? Like I met that guy like 800 times in LA. And in Indiana, the other day, like I met a Grand Wizard from the KKK. Right? No, yeah. I mean, you meet interesting people.
It's way more
and I don't know what like the criteria is for becoming a wizard in the KKK, but that was the worst magic show I've ever been to in my life. But it was a horrible wizard.
Yeah. He
didn't pull a rabbit out of his hat or nothing, and it was a very big hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's a joke that tells the story of me meeting somebody from the KKK, not understanding that they're not the same kind of wizard.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. And that's a story that I told.
So when you're writing your jokes for doing stand-up, because I'm like obsessed with stand-up, and that I'm sure you've seen it, the comedian documentary Seinfeld put out.
Oh, I watch it every month.
It is.
I watch it every single month.
Genius.
I actually have done the JFL. I've done the original and the callback.
Yeah.
And I got my callback last year for the JFL.
Seriously?
And they told us 3 days before our final callback that they weren't going to have the festival that year. Damn. They were bankrupt or something. They weren't going to have the festival that year. And so the first joke, but we could still do the showcase.
Yeah.
So the first joke I told when I got up on stage was, my managers told me I was doing this for Just for Laughs.
Yeah.
And then the other day I found out we're doing this just for laughs. And they, and it was all Hollywood people,
sure.
and, all, execs. So they laughed and,
Yeah. But that documentary, because I grew up probably very similar to you, obsessed with stand-up, watching every special I could find, and watching Jerry bomb was one of the like most eye-opening things for me.
He just shrugs it off.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm so interested then about your experience, because I know you shrug it off too, based on what you've told me. But like, how often are you doing a joke? I guess I've never talked to a stand-up, and to be like, how often does a joke have to bomb before you're like, I'm not doing that joke again?
Okay, so if the joke, first, the way to protect yourself from bombing, first of all, is to, if you're going to do new jokes, tell a joke that you know works at the top, and a joke you know is going to work at the bottom. And then work in the new jokes in the middle, like a doo-doo sandwich.
Yep.
Exactly. With the bad stuff in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't get to taste it until they're about to swallow. Because the stuff on top, it works. And the stuff on bottom, works too.
Okay.
But the stuff in the middle might not. So you do the stuff in the middle, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Okay. You try it again. You you restructure maybe, move it around. It doesn't work again. You tried one last time. That joke doesn't work. The premise might be funny, but you clearly don't know how to tell the joke.
Okay.
Because if you did, it'd be killing.
So have you had a joke where you were like, this premise is awesome, I can't figure out the delivery or like the rhythm, or how's your, like, where you end up on a joke? Are you focused on like inflection, like what words you're punching? Yeah,
it's definitely the wording for me.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm a linguistics guy.
Yeah,
so like it's definitely the wording. I often will find that one of my jokes isn't working. I go, why is this not working? This is hilarious. This is a hilarious premise. Why is this not working? It's because I'm assuming the audience knows a part of this that I don't know. The joke I just told about with the KKK and the hat and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I have to make sure to say during that joke, he was a terrible wizard, because they won't remember that he's a grand wizard. Unless I say he was a terrible wizard, and they go, oh yeah, that's right. And then I go, he didn't pull a rabbit out of his hat. Or, like, I say magic show, they laugh because they're like, what magic? And I go, he was a terrible wizard. They go, oh yeah, that's right. He's not even that kind of wizard. Yeah. I was missing that in that joke for months.
You know what's funny is I think that is so related to when stories, for whether it's TV or a novel or even a film, like, because I've come across that shit in my writing before where I'm like, why does this thing not write, or why does this thing not feel correct, or why did the reader not get this thing? And it's because I was assuming they knew this thing that only I knew.
Exactly.
And man, that's hard to figure out sometimes. And I feel like it might be a little easier to see in like a shorter joke structure.
It is.
Than in like a 35-page script.
It is much harder to find what is not working inside of a 35-page. Like the next steps, I haven't even revisited that to see where it mechanically breaks down at.
Yeah.
Because I just do not have the energy to fix it right now. Like I want to.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I know it breaks down somewhere in the middle mechanically.
Yeah.
It just doesn't move to the next part of the script. But I have no idea where it's at. I have to go in there and like really take it apart and find it.
Oh, it's a lift. Like there's a lot of work to try to figure it out. And that's why readers are like having somebody else read it. It's a big deal. But right as we're wrapping up, okay, so you're in the WGA.
Yes,
I haven't really talked to anybody about being in the Writers Guild and what that means. Right before we started, you were talking about you were a captain.
Yep.
So explain to me what it's like to be in the WGA, what it means to be a captain.
Oh my goodness, it's the best gang in the whole world.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of crazy people. We're all nuts, and I got to go to a captain's meeting. Like, so what happened was I've been in a lot of unions because I'm a factory guy.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, you've been in unions. You should be the room captain. And I'm just like, okay, cool. So I'll be, and I didn't understand that means like going to the meetings and talking to people. And, so they're like, they called a captain's meeting because we were about to go on strike, and we all knew we were about to go on strike. And so they called the captain's meeting, and I see Justin, who is the showrunner for Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I see Justin. Justin is on my basketball team, my rec league basketball team. And now they told me they all worked on Abbott Elementary. It's Brittany Nichols, it's Justin. It's it's other Justin that works on Abbott. Like they're the executive producers and head and showrunners of the show. I thought they just are like writers like me.
Yeah.
And they're on my basketball team. I know Justin has a great jump shot. I see Justin. I'm like, oh,
he's just give him the rock. He's in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So I see him at this meeting. I'm like, oh, thank goodness I know some people here.
Yeah.
So I start chopping it up and talking to them. And I noticed that everybody's being like really like walking around him and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, cool. And he's up on like the panel when we start.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, he didn't tell me he was this important. I feel like this should have come up.
You should have brought this
when we were playing rec league back. Like we're on the same team, man. You should have. Like maybe I should have asked more questions. But I was just like, hey, could you make that cut when I slap the ball? Make the cut.
Do the cut.
Yeah. I didn't ask about work at all. I swear I should.
Well, hey man,
but it's cool.
You're on the court, you know.
But being a captain, I was just like, oh man, this is great. So it's like famous, really, really famous people.
Yeah.
Famous writers, big deal people. Where I was in this room with them, and I'm this dude wearing like a Wolverine t-shirt and sweatpants. I was like, okay. But then you get the vibes.
Yeah.
And you understand, oh, these are people that are down for like war with these people if we need to. And they're rich. That's still like, let's go to war.
That for me, like I'm not in the WGA yet, but when the strike happened and seeing, like obviously there was one other strike during our lifetimes. And when was it?
It was 2002 or 2005, I think.
Something
or 9. Maybe it was 9.
I can't remember.
I think it was 2009, and I think it was over DVD stuff. They sent me the articles for that.
Yeah.
The fun fact about the WGA: every single time there's a new revenue stream, we go on a strike.
Yep.
Because the studios, like every single time historically, there's never a time when the studios get a new revenue stream. They go, hey, let's split this evenly with the writers.
Let's make sure we take care of our writers.
They didn't have it in their contract.
Yep.
This is our money. When they put it in their contract, it can be their money.
Yep.
And that's what happens. And so we went on strike over DVDs, and that's why we got Fear Factor and The Apprentice and Survivor, 20 seasons of that, and all of that stuff is because those were non-scripted, non-WGA projects.
Yep.
Yeah. So we knew we were going on strike.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun, though. It was great. We had a great time.
So, I mean, for like that solid.
I made it on MSNBC because we were walking around in front of Warner Brothers. It was.
I was going to ask where you picketed. Yeah. So I like for me, because I was in Indiana the whole time, obviously. So watching it all happen and the solidarity of other writers.
Yeah. And I flew to LA.
Yeah.
I was here. And when the strike started while I was here, every year I would leave LA and fly back here to be with my family.
Yeah.
I was splitting time anyway. I'd spend like a month here, a month there,
Yeah.
But I would leave LA immediately after the season would wrap. And so there was like a month between when the season wrapped and when we started striking.
Yeah.
And so I was at home with my family. And we started striking. I got on a plane.
Yep.
I'm like, let's go. I love a good strike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Righteous indignation.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Delicious. Yeah. So love it.
So do you, as a writer living in the Midwest, do you like visit LA regularly now, or are you just here while you're working on stuff? Like, how's it work for you?
If they needed me to come out for something, I would just absolutely fly out.
You go.
Yeah, whatever they need. I still got my apartment out there.
Yeah.
It's killing me. It's not $600 a month for my apartment out there. It's actually $1,100 more than that. Yeah, for a 1-bedroom. By comparison, I have a 4-bedroom house here.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
So it's 4 bedrooms, 3-bathroom house here, and it's $650 a month on my mortgage, and it's $1,750 a month.
Yeah, $1,100 a month here. It's like, where do you want your clawfoot tub?
Yeah,
like that's
not
not
$11. Woo.
Yeah,
yeah. We got the double doors,
right?
Yeah, you got what temperature do you want your pool?
That's
sir?
right.
Yeah, they're not playing around here.
But so writing, how do you feel? Like, I usually don't. I try to steer clear of some of this stuff because it's so nebulous. But like career wise, what's it feel like for you? How do you feel?
I feel really, really good. It feels like an at bat.
Yeah.
Right? I play baseball. I should have stuck with baseball. I'm the right size for it, but it was so boring.
Yeah.
But it's like being at bat. Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you're going to swing, you're going to miss that. You're going to miss the ball. That's just how the game works.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to connect, right? But the only time you've really lost is when you stop getting up to bat.
Yep.
As long as you keep getting up to bat, you still have an opportunity to hit one out the park. If you don't get up to bat, you don't have an opportunity to do anything. You just stay in the bullpen and think about the choices you made with your life. But so you just keep getting up to bat, and every new project is a new at bat. So the next thing I write, maybe they don't like this thing. I take the same approach I take with the jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like that last script? I'll write 20 more scripts. I genuinely don't care. I will write. I have so much stuff going on in my crazy brain. I want to write the Beverly Hillbillies in space. Like I have a million ideas. Like, dog, don't even worry about it. I'm gonna write a reboot of Hey Dude. It's gonna be like Yellowstone mixed with like a Riverdale. Like, I can't wait.
Be badass.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's just anywhere direction you can go as long as I still have the ideas.
Yeah.
As long as I still want to write like a Highlander prequel focused on like an African. You know what I mean? And call it The First Immortal. As long as I want to do stuff like that, I'm gonna be fine.
That sounds badass.
Yeah, I'm telling. I want to write it so bad. I contacted the guy who owns the rights to Highlander.
Yeah,
they're rebooting it with Cavill, and so I contacted the guy who owns the guy who created Highlander.
Yeah,
and I'm like, listen to me. This can be part of the Highlander universe.
Yeah,
it's almost like what they did with Creed and Rocky. It's really simple, man. We're just gonna tell the Highlander story without the Highlander in it this time, and it'll be about the first guy who was immortal.
Also, imagine Michael B. Jordan as
how much
dude.
We're printing money,
right? Yeah.
You're printing the money,
especially after Sinners.
Yes.
Like
the first immortal. This guy is cutting people's heads off with like an ancient sword. Like, what are we doing here?
We can have a poster by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And people will be
he's stabbing
freaking.
You see him fighting this old warrior, and you think, oh my goodness, he must be older than him. And it turns out it's his son. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, we can do it.
That's it.
Why not do it?
So yeah, as long as you keep taking those bats, as long as you keep swinging.
Yeah.
I feel as good about my writing career right now as I did the day I started, because I know it's up to me.
Yeah.
It's in my hands. If I really, if I want to get, like this year is a year where I really took a step back and I took time off. My dad was sick and he ended up passing away.
Yeah.
So, first he had cancer in his leg and he had to get it cut off. And so I was here, having the time of my life, taking him to appointments and spending as much time with him as I possibly could. And not really because I thought he was going to die. Just because I love my dad. I love hanging out with him. He's the best guy, most awesome person I've ever met in my whole life. And so I loved that part. So I took, and I intentionally took time off where I was not like sending my agents like all kind of stuff that I've written or sending in new scripts to read and stuff like that. And my meetings slowed down because of that.
Yeah.
But not because I'm not a hot commodity or because I'm a bad writer. I'm all of a sudden a bad writer. It's because, they haven't heard from me in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm writing these scripts right now. They'll hear from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
It's super amazing that
I appreciate you having me on your first in-person guest.
In person, very first in person.
Fort Wayne gang in the building.
It is crazy that, it seriously blows my mind that all of this, that you're here, that you're doing the things that you're doing. I'm like super insanely happy for you that you're killing it, and
thank you
that you've got all this stuff going on. I think it's amazing, and having you on's been super awesome.
Thank you so much. If people can find me, I'm a JT Comedy Official on Instagram, and I'm Mr. Marcus 260 on Twitter. Twitter is a different thing for me. Everybody else, so lots of different stuff, but it's just the same. I just tell jokes.
Yeah,
they're just harder jokes.
Man, I had a blast chatting with Jamarcus. It was so much fun. Thank you to him for coming by. Thank you for listening. And he said a lot of stuff I want to remind myself of, and you as well. Like, just keep writing. Just keep doing it. When someone says no, or that a thing doesn't work, or that they didn't like a thing, just keep writing. That's it. Just get back to the page no matter what, and keep going forward. He says a lot of stuff that really gives good insights into what it takes, not just to write for TV, but just to write in general. It's like, just keep going. Awesome chat. So happy he came by. Check him out everywhere online, like he said. And for my stuff, austinrwilson.com. And if you like the show, tell someone else about it. That's really one of the best ways for me to be able to bring more interviews to you and to talk to other cool writers. I have another interview coming up. It's about a week and a half away from now, and it is one of the craziest bookings that I've gotten so far, and one that I'm kind of still having to pinch myself that it's going to happen. So watch out for that. Can't wait to bring that one to you, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I've got some other fiction that I'm going to be reading and posting as well, so I really appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by. I'll talk to you guys later.